Okay. Hey, Lauren.
Hey, everybody.
Good afternoon. You're the first person to join us, but
Okay.
I was expecting Tom and Jennifer.
Okay.
How things going up in Roanoke?
Pretty good. End of the summer is kind of our busy season, but luckily this week I don't have a lot going on. So,
All right, works out well.
yeah.
Do you have any dealings with the YMCA up there in your position? You got two YMCAs, right?
The only thing that I ever really do with them is work with their swim team to get time in our pool. Now I know we've partnered with them before to do some after school things, but that's falls under a different person. So I work mostly with their swim team.
Sure. The reason I ask is, and I was going to make this as kind of unscheduled discussion at the end of the agenda, but I don't know if you've heard, but Martinsville is building a new YMCA. So the YMCA is next door to Natural History. And so what would you say, Tim, about a half mile? Well, 3/4 of a mile from here. Mile.
Yeah, about a mile here. You talking about the new building?
Yeah.
Yeah, about a mile.
Yeah, about a mile from here, they're gonna tear down a strip mall and put in a $20 million YMCA, which unto itself is fine. And the local foundation, Harvest Foundation, is gonna basically pay for it. But I think what's going on, and I reserve the right to edit this, but what I think is going on is that Harvest is going to provide the lion's share of the funds. The Y has made $1 million request to the city to invest. And then I think the Harvest Foundation is expecting the YMCA to sell the old building and use those funds as further offset of the costs. So of course they approached us as neighbors, right? And, but my attitude is, if the state will allow us to change our maintenance reserve calculation to account for more square footage in a big parking lot, we will consider accepting the building, but not purchasing it. I mean, the board has to make that decision, but that's my recommendation. Harvest can afford it. They don't need us to be solving their problems. And there's not a single line on anybody's EWP here that says our job is to make Harvest's life easier. No. Right. So we will accept it. And there are things that we can do immediately with it. And there are things that we can phase in over, I don't know, 3 or 5 years or something like that.
There's a lot of programming space for sure in there. Do they have a pool there, or is it there is a pool? All right.
Yes, we have to drain that. And Ryan has seen the old Danville Y building repurposed, and they put a floor over it.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously you don't want to get in the pool business, but you want to stay far away from that.
Cord Cothran was saying insurance and operational costs are, they skyrocket. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, we're just having some preliminary conversation.
Hey, doing all right.
All right. Okay, the only other person that's supposed to join us that we've heard from is Jennifer Burnett. We did hear from her. She said she would attend, but obviously she's not here yet. Cord is busy with a group. He was actually over here with his group earlier today, so I spent about a half hour chit-chatting with them about facilities and stuff.
I don't know if anybody else got confused by it, but when you sent me the calendar reminder, it was on Microsoft Teams, and then I noticed that Mary Zell had sent it as a Zoom link, so I tried both.
Yeah, that's the dumb default of our email system. So a lot of times these invites go out, it's just automatically inserted, even if we don't want it. So we should get in the habit of, specifically requesting. I'm going to send Jennifer a message.
Yeah, just to make sure she's using Zoom.
Nobody likes Teams here.
Okay, I sent it out to her. If you want to buy her some time, I was going to add some discussion, which I kind of already went through with Lauren, about our local YMCA next door to us. Did I talk with you at all about that, Tom? I can't remember.
I don't think so. No, I don't remember hearing about it.
The Y is right next door, and the short version is that from a mile from here, they're going to build a new building upcoming. Harvest
Okay.
Foundation providing the lion's share of the funds. And our understanding, which we're not 100% sure is 100% accurate, is that they made a $1 million request for matching funds from the city. And also, we believe they're asking the Y to sell the old building and use proceeds from the sale to offset costs. So we've already been approached, and it's going to be a decision by the board, of course, not me, but my recommendation is that we don't buy it. But if they want to donate it to us, the reason I say that is that Harvest Foundation has more than enough money to cover all the costs, right? And they don't need us going out of our way to make their lives easier. So if that's something they want to do, what we would do is get permission for property transfer through real estate, and also get verification before we sign anything that we get a recalculation of maintenance reserve funds to account for more square footage and a big parking lot.
Right.
So at that point, we could almost immediately begin to use part of the facility and then begin to phase in programming or whatever over time. One of the big desires is CHML, which of course is basically centered in the archaeology lab, could really use a space for expansion. And so we feel that we could use a big chunk of that to make a properly equipped cultural heritage monitoring lab. And on top of that, create some dorm style living quarters, because they already have a kitchenette and bathrooms and showers in place. So we feel that we could pretty quickly, utilize the gym area to support festivals, and that we could use a portion of it with some renovation to support the CHML pretty quickly. Then the other spaces, the natatorium, the racquetball courts, other big wide open spaces that are full of gym equipment and so forth. These are things that we would need to then come up with a vision. What are we going to do with them? And I would love to have the opportunity for people to come here to VMNH, pay their admission, get a wristband, and then go over to the new facility, show the wristband, and get in there. And we actually populate some of the existing spaces with museum galleries. So it would totally be a multifunctional space for us. So
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting opportunity.
We'll formalize a proposal or a recommendation to the board as time goes on. We gather more information. I don't even have a blueprint or a layout offhand right now. So
Okay.
we have a long way to go, but I'm just kind of dropping the information right now. So I'm happy to talk about it. There's nothing secret. It's public that the Y is moving, the new building's being built, Harvest is behind it, and they want to unload the old building.
And what is the reason that the Y is moving?
The building is too small for their spaces. It's about 20% or 25% smaller than the new one that was built in Danville, for instance.
Okay.
What's the timeline? The timeline for, do they know, have they started construction of the new building?
No.
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 Okay. So we're talking a couple years then.
At least, yeah.
Okay.
So, and I would say that I would anticipate, but we would need an expert to look at it, that a new roof would be in order, but that ties back to the maintenance reserve calculation. So as long as that's in place and we can get a contractor to do what we did over at Douglas Avenue, then that's fine. Otherwise, my perusal's over there, the building's in reasonably okay shape. The bones are good. I have not heard back from Jennifer.
All right. Do we have a quorum? I guess we do, with the people in the room there and Lauren and myself.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and call it to order then. And I think you have shared an agenda already. So Starting off with a general report on the status of the main building.
Yes, and I'll have Tim start that conversation.
Great.
Look, Lauren, do you know Tim King? Have you guys met yet?
I'm not sure if we did or not.
He's our head of facilities and security and many other things.
Okay, so I've heard a lot about you. I guess we just not met. So
It looks like Jennifer just joined us.
Yes, you did. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi there. Sorry, I was having technical difficulties.
All right, we're just getting started.
Welcome. We're just getting started on our agenda. I guess you have that already, but Tim's going to tell us about the main building, give us an update on the status.
Well, I'm gonna actually defer the main building project that we completed to Jonathan, and I'm gonna piggyback on to the Douglas building and upcoming projects.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So, yeah, general projects, really, we have a couple things going on here. We updated the AV equipment. That's something that's been going on over the past couple of years. The conference room where you guys meet in, I think there's some new upgrades potentially happening there soon. That's certainly this fiscal year. That'll be a maintenance reserve, since we're replacing a system with a system that's consistent with the current system. Really, that and then the big news about the ESCO projects getting closed out. I don't see that anywhere further. So, ESCO project, we kind of wrap that up at the end of fiscal year 23. So opening up fiscal year 24, just the new system that maintains and tracks came online late June. So what they do now is they'll take that information over the next few months and start tweaking things. They'll give us suggestions on what things that we can do to save, or, you know, hey, we're noticing that the HVAC is kicking on here in this one room, but it doesn't seem like anybody's in there type stuff. So they'll help us just to continue to keep those costs down. So the average will come down over time. It's not an instant implementation. They have to have data to work with and the data points so we can change things, try things to make sure. But that was successful on that end. Unless I'm missing something, I think that's
Just to delve into the ESCO project a little bit, you guys don't know the particulars. During the ESCO project, we had a solar system installed. We revamped a lighting system, HVAC systems. We had a block generator added on to our backup generator here at the building. And all this stuff, as Jonathan said, coincides with our utilities, and we should see savings going down the road, but just not immediate.
Mhm.
Is there a dashboard that you then now have access to where you can watch what's going on?
Yes, we have a dashboard in our front lobby.
That's for the solar.
What are we talking about?
so there's also a back of house dashboard.
For
Yeah, Tim can switch things and change things from his office.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. And down in HVAC, we have a guy, Larry, one of our HVAC technicians, and myself, we're able to do this from home or do it here at the building, so very convenient.
Nice.
And just, I guess to jump on top of that, we have all the utility usage, so the utilization going back 10 years now. So as we see our numbers come in, not only will we rely on the system, which was installed, so the ESCO project was completed by Siemens, but the system is also run by Siemens. So as a backup to that, you know, as just to account for any accounting errors, we also will be keeping track of utilization with the kilowatt hours used, natural gas used, et cetera, on our end. So we're not going to give up tracking that as well, just so we can compare apples to apples, you know.
Well, it seems like there's an opportunity there to share with the public how we've renovated and are now using energy in a different way. So I don't know if that could be included in the dashboard. You said that there's something in the front area that just shows a solar array. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's offsets, like current carbon offsets, kilowatts, megawatts, we've created since October last year. And then
Numbers of miles driven.
I think trees also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a public facing element to that.
Neat. Any questions for the group there about the status of the main building? I guess I have a question. I don't know that it's related to the ESCO project, but I know that we put those chargers out there in the parking lot. Are they getting used? And
Yes,
Yes.
I might be the most frequent user.
that's our best customer.
Yeah, but I do pay just like the public does. I went out there one day to park and there were 2 other cars charging up and whatnot. So yeah, and the city installed 4 of its own after we installed ours. So on the other side of the uptown, we have 4 more. So yeah, I think it's going to take time before people realize that they're there. They are searchable with the Green Spot app, which, if I remember right, is also they're identified via the Tesla app as well. So,
great. And do we get numbers on how often they get used, or is there any like reporting system that records how often they're used or for how long?
There's a dashboard for that as well. It tracks
There is,
everything.
okay.
Cars that use it, time of day when they're using it, the amount of miles that offsets, the carbon offsets, same kind of thing.
I don't know whether we can get it together for this board meeting, but at some point it'd be nice to put together some sort of summary for the board on those kinds of initiatives and maybe some of that offset information. And
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's some important information. I just we'll collect a little bit more so that the it looks more not substantial, but it's something to look at instead of just kind of the preliminary numbers.
how about we target that for the May board meeting? And the reason I say that is that it gives us a couple of it gives us the rest of this summer in the hot months, and then it gives us cold months. So it should be a little bit more complete look at what the differences are between modern and historical numbers.
I like that idea, Joe. If nothing else on that, then I guess we're down to hearing about the Douglas Avenue rehab.
Yes. The Douglas Avenue roofing project has been completed. Second phase of the project, we're reaching out to contractors and we're looking to do the building envelope, maybe replace some doors, windows, and the light and go through. I've already reached out to a contractor who was here on site for the ESCO project doing the same thing. And then we'll reach out for RFPs later on down the road once we get an idea of what exactly we're looking at for that. And after that project, then we'll start to look into the plumbing and electrical. And all of these will be tapped from maintenance reserve upon monies going forward. As far as that is concerned. And I guess I'm adding upcoming projects. When we go back to this building, I have talked to the contractor that's doing the YMCA parking lot. They're gonna repave and repaint that. And I've reached out to a contractor as well, trying to get that started. He's gonna reach out to me. We're gonna sit down and talk about that as well. So going forward, those 2 projects will be to the forefront. Just this morning, as far as Douglas is concerned, I did meet with a contractor to upgrade our fire and camera system at Douglas. So things are moving in that direction as well as far as Douglas is concerned.
Good. Any questions for Tim about Douglas Avenue? All right, and I guess the next item on our agenda is the Education Pavilion. I know that's moving along, so I'd like to hear about that one.
All right. Well, I'm happy to give some positive updates on that. So we have a construction contract in place. So we signed a contract in April with Daniel Builders, which is a very prominent construction firm. So anticipated construction start time is September. And so a lot of that was based on the concrete subcontracting being available. So the construction phase itself is going to be relatively quick with the type of structure it is. So I think in the contract, it's 100 days from start to finish max. So our goal, what we put is a start date in September, very last date completion February, but realistically before that. But at this point, we're just going to be kind of conservative. And so funding is in hand. So we've got mostly funding in the foundation. We've got a portion of the project that will be maintenance reserves. That'll be the stairs leading from the pavilion down to Oakdale. Of course, those were not up to code based on the new structure. So that will be maintenance reserve. The rest of the funding will be through the foundation. Majority of it we have in hand. We do have a outstanding proposal to Harvest Foundation. So we've already received Harvest funding for the project, but we've got a request for additional funding that's under review now. So far, very positive feedback. It's moved to the phase where the board votes on it. So we'll find out more about that probably the next month or so. We also have, of course, the Pelagornis, which is the bird model that'll be suspended within the pavilion. Majority of that's been paid. We have a additional payment on that, but that's factored into the funding as well. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. I think we've talked with our funders. Tobacco Commission is another funder. We've got an already approved grant that we're going to draw on that this fall. So about 50,000 more we'll get this fall to help with the construction phase. They're up to date. Harvest is up to date. So I think we're all excited. So let's move forward.
Will construction affect operations in the main building at all, or?
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to take out a couple of exhibit elements in the Hall of Ancient Life. Because if I remember right, and please somebody update me if anything's changed, but the state wants us to temporarily install emergency exit doors in the back. So that way, if during construction, if there were an emergency, a fire or something like that, there would be adequate escape path, egress. Yeah, so apparently with the modular kind of window and door system there in the back of the hall, that should not be an issue. So once the work's done, we're just going to put the exhibit elements back. It's part of the Ice Age animals that we have up against the very rear of the building. We have to take out at least one part of that, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, Adam's office gets to enjoy the jackhammer when they break up the concrete for a day, but that's probably about it.
Okay. Yeah, there isn't a whole lot of traffic out that part of the building as it is right now, right? So it's not
Yeah.
blocking much.
No, it's really, I mean, they ran out of money is what it was in 2007. It was supposed to be a real patio. And so, but they did a bad job and the concrete failed and it started to collapse. So we used maintenance reserve about 10 years ago or more and tore it up. And frankly said, those people didn't do as good a job as I wanted either. You know, I probably should have rode them a little harder, but it's just never really been functional. This is going to make that area completely functional and available. We actually have some people in town that are excited about using it as an evening social spot, as we can't seem to keep a bar open in Martinsville for the life of us. We are talking about maybe having 1 or 2 evenings, especially if we can partner with someone who already has an ABC license and would like to do some business. You know, you got the nice outdoor facility. We'll have AV out there for speakers. You know, you can have some light music or you know, kind of low-key musicians and stuff. So I don't know when all that's going to happen, but we'll phase it in once the construction's done. But I think it's something we really do want to try out.
Will there be plumbing to that area so that if they need to wash glasses or a caterer comes in or something like that, is that going to be available?
That is too fancy for us, Tom.
Okay. So the caterer would have to be self-contained. They'd have to just bring everything in on their own. Yeah.
Or
Well,
use the museum.
Well, we got a catering
storage
kitchen very close.
Downstairs, yeah.
Yeah, we'd probably let them use carts with glasses and beverages, and we'd have to serve some light food as well. But they could just gain access to the catering kitchen for that. I think the original idea was we would eventually purchase, when we first started designing this, to purchase rolling tables that have built-in plumbing. You know, they have a water bladder and a waste bladder that, you know, you can just roll it in and out as needed. Yeah, that's actually right, because we did look into having a fixed kind of serving area that would have plumbing and electric and all that kind of stuff, but it started to eat into the budget, you know, pretty fast.
Yeah.
It's surprising how some things like that get expensive very quickly,
Right.
especially with the marble countertop that Tim wanted.
Yeah, gold ball.
Is there even a spigot out there and you know, something
Yeah.
simple like that? There is. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, we can hose the concrete off if need be, you know.
Right. And you said the Pelagwarnis is largely paid off. Is it already there? Do you have it in storage or something ready to go, or?
No, it's at the artist studio.
It is,
but
okay.
You just need to go pick it up. It's modular. It comes apart in what, 4 pieces? Yeah. And so we just need to bring the moving van over one of these days, pick it up, and we'll put it in storage in Douglas, or we'll just pick it up and install it. Yeah. So.
And do I remember right that it's actual size, like a 20-foot wingspan or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's big. So I think it's gonna be cool.
That will be cool. Yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be an attraction in and of itself.
Yeah, photo ops and all that.
Right. You said grand opening here on the schedule. Do you have a planned grand opening?
Well, the timing is a little awkward because it's an outdoor facility. I mean, I know how this works, right? We can put down, or they can say September 1. For whatever reason, it's never going to happen. It's going to be like September 15th or October 1st or something. Then you put 100 days out and you're into, potentially the cooler weather. So we're going to kind of put our finger on the pulse and kind of feel this out. If it's starting to look like we're not going to have it finished and the ribbon ready to cut, we might do a soft opening and just leave it available to people, and then do the official ribbon cutting and honor the donors and things like that in the springtime when the weather's nice. I think that's what we prefer right now.
Okay, that makes sense. Maybe we can even do something in conjunction with the board meeting or something like that.
Yeah, good. That's cool.
And that makes me think too, I don't know whether there are heat lamps there that it would make it more convenient to use 3 seasons at least.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about as far as, kind of phasing things in. So, the entertainment you want to do, we definitely do that in the warm weather. But as this space kind of matures, so to speak, the addition of propane heaters, or maybe even get some hardwired into the building, but they're expensive, the hardwired stuff. Yeah. They draw a lot of amperage. But the propane heaters, and maybe even like one of those gas generated fire pits. Oh yeah. Something like that would be very easy and not expensive to maintain.
Right.
And then the staff will use it all up during lunch hour. All that. But yeah, no, we're real confident with it. We're excited about the added capacity. So yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting, and I'm glad that the foundation was able to come up with the funds to do this project. So that's a good demonstration of their commitment to what we're doing here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I would want to, with that opening, I guess, include the foundation board obviously as well, and make sure that they're.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we can even do a joint meeting, board meeting, foundation board meeting there.
Yeah, I think they'd appreciate that for sure.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments about the education pavilion?
Do they have this in the mural? Do they have this in the mural?
No,
Okay, never mind.
no. Who is it that we had a recommendation?
We had, so this, talking about stairs, right?
Yeah.
The stairs leading to Oakdale are going to be somewhat eye level if you're on Oakdale Avenue. So that we're talking about a possibility of a mural on the stair risers themselves. So I think it was a colleague.
Oh, Ben.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah. So Ben Williams has an artist friend who would like to take that on, or it sounds like she wants to take it on. We haven't formalized anything yet. But the idea is that there'll be a spot on Oakdale Avenue. You can stand on the sidewalk and look up at the stairs, and the risers will all line up into one mural. So I think we talked about it before the board meeting. I know there was some talk about maybe, having children kind of vote on what it is and stuff like that, but I don't know that I want to do that. I mean, to be blunt, I think we just make a hard decision. And the idea that gained some traction was the idea of maybe having like a cascading stream with a trout in it or something like that. I think would be kind of neat. So yeah, but I think that'd be kind of a nice public art, outward facing, thing for the pavilion. Sure.
Cool.
But that's another phase. Phase 1 is build the thing, and then we'll start to put in music and tables and plumbing and art and all kinds of things. You know, we can have fun with it for a good number of years.
Mhm.
And a canopy walk, right?
Yeah, we'll get there too. So,
All right. Anything else? Coming back to the YMCA building, it would help me if I knew exactly the layout. I'm not sure where that is relative to the existing building. So you said you don't have a lot in the way of a footprint, but when you get to that point, if you could have like an overview map that just shows where it is relative to our current facility and
definitely.
size and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I want a layout for the interior of the building for sure, because while I've been in there, I just don't appreciate the scope really, you know.
Right.
So, but you can look on Google Maps and you'll see that it's right next door. And fortunately, we don't have a formalized walkway between the two properties, but that's easily rectified, you know. I think it make a lot of sense. We can, in my view anyway, we can connect the front walk in front of the YMCA to, there's a grassy median. They're slightly higher in elevation than the museum. So we could just put a long kind of, you know, stair thing and a ramp between the two properties right there.
So as I'm looking at the front of the museum, is it to the right?
To the left.
To the left. Okay. All right.
So the church is on the right with the big steeples. And
Yeah.
on the left, you never notice the Y because there's a whole big row of evergreen
Trees.
trees of some kind, not pine, but I mean, they're like thick from the bottom all the way up. And there's just like kind of a narrow gap of maybe 20-30 feet that is kind of open that you can see the two buildings. So we might have to do some vegetation management, you know, that's no problem. But I just think having a nice attractive stair and ramp to navigate that, gosh, man, 2 or 3 foot change, you know, is all it would take, and some signage for guidance. So
Cool.
yeah, it's a possibility, and I want to make sure to that we do due diligence to you know, look at the feasibility of operating it as well as, you know, the expenses behind it. So there's going to be pros and cons to running a bigger facility all the way down to just making sure that we can keep it clean, you know. But we'll look into all that. And, you know, right now the conversation is very casual, just between me and the YMCA director at this point. But we will have to go deeper at some point. Tom, one last thing that I want to bring up that maybe Tim can throw a detail or two into. We do have a small issue we're keeping our eye on. Over by our elevator on the first floor, that's on slab, right? So that's not over basement, but it seems like there's some settling that's occurred. And so as you have to look for it, like if you put a marble on the floor, you would notice it's not level, right? It's not like at the point yet where if someone with a wheelchair stops, they're going to start rolling away or someone's going to trip over it, right? But it's concerning from, you know, kind of a geotechnical standpoint. So I think at some point you're going to get someone to take a look at it.
Yes, at some point I will, when I get some of these projects lined up, we're gonna bring in a contractor to give us some guidance on what we need to do with that. It comes from where the building is settled. I think part of it is slab and some of it's like on the ground. So
Right.
there was that shift in the floor itself. So yes.
Yeah, so it's just something we want to keep an eye on. We're just letting you know now informationally. So if 2 years from now, you know, Tim fell through the floor, you understand what happened, right? So
Somebody pushed.
Do you, I assume you have, from when the building was built, you have some of the borings and some of the, you know, subsoil geology and so forth that underlays the building, do you?
We do, we have all that.
Yeah, yeah. I know from experience, my office building at JMU was built over fairly good limestone outcrop, and there were big voids, caves basically underneath the building, and they had to grout up a lot of those holes. And yet even so, on my hallway, there was some settling. At one end of the hallway, it sloped significantly down. And I kept joking with my office mates, you know, that I would hear a sudden whooshing sound and, you know, they would disappear into the ground. But fortunately, that never happened.
Well, buildings are buildings and they all suffer these maladies periodically. And, you know, but it is something that, to me, I mean, I can't seem to do anything around here for less than $20,000, but this to me sounds like it's, if we have to do something, like if it's decided that this is a future public safety issue, it's probably gonna eat a whole year's worth of maintenance reserve, if not more, so, yeah. So just something that we gotta keep our eye on the horizon. It could be too that the technician comes in and says, this happens all the time, if it's an aesthetic thing, then you don't like it, fix it. If you're cool with it, it's recommended you just leave it. Hopefully it's just that.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
I think we're good here, Tom.
Yeah, I guess we've got a board meeting upcoming, so I'll do my best to try to put together a short report, and I'll rely heavily on Mary Zell's notes for the details, but thank you for putting this meeting together. Yeah.
Just so you know, my goal still today, I want to get the full board report out by close of business, and literally typing up our conversations as we go. So I'm going to include these if it's okay with you. They won't be approved, of course, but I'll put them in the full board report, and then you can use that to make the report out to the full board.
That's great.
Okay. All right. Good.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and adjourn our meeting and look forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks, or something like that for our board.
Yeah, sounds good. So thank you, Tom. Appreciate running this. Lauren and Jennifer, thanks for participating. We'll talk